the focus is so much on academics that we forget the life skill or the basic skills that are required for the child for a good development. A child is born with it and is going to be having this till the end of their lives. What we offer here is basically to make the young adults who come here more self-reliant. I think if parents accept that and they work towards it, but behavior modification is something which a parent has to do at home. They don't want to invest in these kids because they see no returns. Exercising is important, and that they need to put it on the group that they've exercised for the day. So they do write back on that I went for a walk in the evening today, or I went for a swim today. But at the same time, if your heart is in the right place, then I think you can do a lot more. Children who don't know boundaries, who have learned boundaries which are good for them, is success. And that's where the journey began. It began with helping these kids in an after-school environment.
Joining us today is a dedicated parent who has navigated countless therapies with unconditional love and acceptance to support her son. She graciously shares 20 years journey of learning and growth with fellow parents. Today, I welcome Urmila Hemadi, founder of Dys&That and the Flipside Workspace, on my podcast, All That She Wants. I welcome you to my pod.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. Thank you for having us here.
It's wonderful to do this recording, and I was looking forward to talk to you and get more details so that this can be valuable and learning for lots of them.
Yes, and reach out to more and more kids, I think.
Yes, you're doing a phenomenal work. I would want to learn, understand what inspired you to start a life skill school specifically, which is dedicated to individuals with intellectual disabilities.
I will have to begin with my journey 20 years ago, which began with my son having learning needs, what we call dyslexia, or like we saw in the movie Tare Zameen Par, right? So he needed a little extra help with learning, whether it's reading or writing or, whatever the basic that you need for academics. And that's where the journey began. It began with helping these kids in an after school environment, helping them with whatever their diverse needs were. But it was purely based on the academics. But going down the journey, we realized that I made that mistake too as a parent. The focus is so much on academics that we forget the life skill or, the basic skills that are required for the child for a good development. Be it whether they're good at a sport, they're good at painting, they're good at singing. But I think we parents just push a lot for academics and give too much of importance to that we forget to teach them other things. So Flipside was started to teach our students basically life skills. There's something I did with my son back home, and realized that more and more students need this, teaching them basic life skills, making them feel good about themselves, and to be self-reliant and self-advocate for themselves.
Definitely. How old is he today?
So he's all of 27. Like I said, his needs were more with learning, and he completed his degree now, and he was in search of animation as his passion, but he recently realized when we got him an internship that that's not what he wants to do.
Okay.
And he seems to be very happy to come and join Flipside and probably work with the students at Flipside.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's fabulous. Even today, we have misconceptions in the society, though there is so much of growth. How would you want to dispel this?
So basically, I think if we understand that this is not some kind of a disease which you have a cure for, it's just a state that we are looking at. A child is born with it and is going to be having this till the end of their lives.
Okay.
I think if parents accept that and they work towards it, and not just rely on different therapists. I'm not saying therapists are not required. Therapists are needed for the different needs, but if parents are also involved, because something as simple as behavior modification, which becomes a major issue later on in life, if they start working with that back at home, then it works out much better. Like, if I have to give you an example, we had a parent who walked in with a 31-year-old with Down syndrome, And they said that he does whatever is taught at the school he goes to, but once he comes back home, he just sits in front of the TV, doesn't do anything, eats his dinner, and goes to sleep. So I said, did you try teaching him earlier? He said no, and he was our firstborn, and we couldn't do anything. We didn't know anything. So through the 31 years of his life, they did no kind of behavior modification or told him that these are the chores to do at home. And at 31 now, they are expecting the child to do it. It's sorry, not a child, but a young adult to do it.
Exactly.
And it's not possible for them to do it, now. You can make those changes. But I'm saying if you begin right in the
Early.
beginning, it always helps.
Yeah. So, didn't they know about this in the beginning, or they didn't wanted to send them or take help?
No, I think what happens basically is either both the parents are working, because when you have kids with diverse needs, their needs also are more. The therapies are a
Exactly.
lot more. So if both the parents are working, they honestly don't know what to do. They just send them to a school where they work on. But whatever they're teaching at school, they come back home. Eventually, they're spending a lot more time with you, right? Whether it's over the weekend or once they come back in the afternoon or evening. What are you doing about it? You just let them be because you think he can't do a certain something.
Correct.
So this misconception that a child can't do, I think, is not correct. We need to
True.
do our best to see that the child is able to do a whole lot of things, at least to make him or her self-reliant.
So, are you trying to say the situation that they are in is permanent and there is nothing that can overcome the state they are in?
So when I say the state they are in, now suppose a child has autism. Autism is a spectrum. So you will have children who have, um, we for our convenience say mild, moderate, and severe, but honestly it's just a spectrum, and no two kids are alike. So you can't say that if a child is doing a certain something, the other child will be doing the same thing or will not be doing the same thing. But I would tell a parent, take the help of a therapist, an educator, or a psychiatrist, a psychologist. They're going to guide you on what to do. But behavior modification is something which a parent has to do at home. It can't just be done by a therapist.
Everything starts at home and then
Everything.
is done outside or from others.
Everything,
I
including
completely
acceptance.
understand that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, when we talk about behavior management or behavior modification, see, parents have not learned this. It's basically therapists and psychologists, etc., doing it. But we do have good programs on YouTube. There's one called the Super Nanny program, and in that, a parent can actually learn about behavior management and how to, have good behavior for the child.
Okay.
And they can learn what all is involved in that and what they can do for it.
So, if you can share some foundational skills and programs that you offer at your school.
So, what we offer here is basically to make the young adults who come here more self reliant and to be able to self advocate for themselves, right? So, when I say self reliant, everything that you can do for yourself is what we would want them to do. So that tomorrow, when the parents say, what happens when we are no more? This child should be able to do, whether it is waking up on time to do a certain chore or doing their own jobs in the morning, to be able to cook their own breakfast if need be, and going to a specific workplace that they have been assigned to go to or the school that they go to, and going back home and to be able to help a parent. Why not help a parent, even if it's to cook, or if the father has some kind of a place where the child can contribute to their best capability, why not have them there? So that's all that we are looking at from the beginning of the day to the end of the day.
Wow. So, every child is different. How do you tailor the curriculum based on each need, learning needs of the child that is needed here in the school?
So, when we look at it and we say that we want to make a child self reliant, parents are basically coming here for life skills, right? So, life skill are specific life skills we're looking at, whether they're able to, take care of their own personal hygiene, whether they're able to cook a meal for themselves, whether they're able to come to any space that is required and make conversation with other people who are there. Uh, Go back home again and converse with others. So we are looking at that entirety over here.
Okay. Can you give me some examples, basic examples of what they learn here? And you have heard from parents that, oh, this is what is something new that I saw from my child today.
So, if I can say something as small as when the parents come to us, we also probably, ask them questions
Mm-hmm.
that what are the needs of the child or what are their expectations from us.
Mm-hmm.
Because their expectations should actually be something that the kid will be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
They may be having higher expectation or they may have no expectation. Either one is not good for the kid. So what we do is we look at what the child's needs are
Mm-hmm.
to survive in today's world, what the parents are expecting from us. We find out what they are able to do and not able to do. We
Okay.
focus a lot more on what they are able to do versus what they're not able to do.
Okay.
And we do look at things that they can't do, like if they're not communicating at home at all, they're not having conversations, say, with their parents or grandparents or siblings, we create a space here which is safe for them, and they
Okay.
actually begin to communicate here. So we
Okay.
tell them, why don't you do that when you go back home today? So when you're having dinner, can you talk about one certain aspect? Like if we say that you learnt about why protein is important in our food, right? Can you go back and tell them why we need to eat protein? So
Okay.
that gets a conversation going.
Okay. So I've also heard that they don't have conversations. They just answer in a yes or no or just a one word answer. Is it true or it's much beyond this?
I think it's much beyond this.
Okay.
I don't think it's just yes and no's. Probably when they walk into a space initially, yes, they would answer in monosyllables to us. But I think it's all about being comfortable. You tell me, as a human being, wouldn't you want or have the need to communicate with somebody and
Yes,
express?
definitely.
So why not them? Why do we feel that they won't want to express or, communicate? They may not have probably futile conversations. They may not be able to do those conversations you have at, say, when you meet friends or you go for a party and things like that. But they can definitely make conversations. Like we have a student who he can speak anything in geography for you.
Okay.
So if you have an earthquake happening somewhere, or he can have an entire conversation about it. He'll
Okay.
tell you everything about tectonic plates, etc., and have a conversation. So they can converse.
That's
They
fab.
just need to have that space, safe space to do it.
And how do you measure the progress of a child and evaluate its effectiveness?
So look, we don't have any kind of tests or whatever over here to see or measure the success. But for us, success is, if I can give you an example.
Yes.
We worked for an entire year and we took a break for summer. And
Okay.
I was really worried whether these kids would take a slip. And we had kids, and we have a group made for all the students where they can have conversations. So from whether they exercised in the morning, they started putting pictures of them, walking in the park, or they would tell the parent, take a picture of mine while I'm swimming. I want to put it on the group,
Cool.
which they never used to do.
Okay.
And they actually started having video calls with each
Okay.
other, which included us teachers. And the conversations went on for a good 5 to 10 minutes, each one saying what they are doing. For us,
Okay.
that was amazing success this year.
So they were missing being in the school.
Absolutely. They were missing their friends. They've created and made their own group of friends here.
So when they are back home,
Right.
when they create a group, a circle, so is it just within the school or even they follow up or carry this forward with each other when they are away from school?
So when I tell you it's a spectrum, we do have some children who don't converse or don't make conversations. But if
Okay.
we've told them that exercising is important and that they need to put it on the group that they've exercised for the day, so they do write back on that I went for a walk in the evening today or I went for a swim today.
Yes.
They do that. But at the same time, since it's a spectrum, we also have kids who make continuous calls to you. They will call you like 3, 4, 5 times till you answer. But those are also things we're working on. So we don't want them to do that, because today it's us, we can accept it. But
Yes.
tomorrow outside, people are not going to be able to accept it. So
Yes.
we teach both of it. The ones who do it excessively, we teach them how not to do it. And the ones who don't, I think we just create a safe space for them. So they learn.
So do you also involve families and caregivers in evaluating, in learning experiences, what the child is doing at the school?
Absolutely, Jyoti. Like I told you in the beginning, it all begins at home
Mm-hmm.
and it all ends at home.
Mm-hmm.
So parents actually have to be involved. That's what we tell parents when they walk in, that it's not just that the kids are here and they drop them here and they pick them up at 3 and the job is done.
Mm-hmm.
So suppose, like I said earlier, if we've read some article in the newspaper, we want them to go and have a conversation at dinner time. But if the parent is just going to talk about, this thing happened in the business today, aaj ye ho gaya, or the mother says that, this happened at home today, or this one didn't come home, the servant issue,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. What is the child going to be doing at the dinner table? Nothing. He's going to be bored, right?
Correct.
So no conversations are happening. So we encourage parents, we give them the topics that we worked on for the day,
Mm-hmm.
and we say that why don't you have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Or if we've taught them about cybercrime, we see a lot of cybercrime happening, especially with senior citizens as well as children
Mm-hmm.
like ours. So we actually tell them that we've taught them these things,
Mm-hmm.
and when they're back home also, to make sure that they are not getting into any kind of trouble. So the
Okay.
involvement of parents is constantly there with us.
So they need to keep monitoring them, what's happening and what's not happening at home.
So when the kids come here, they do talk to us about things that have happened,
Okay.
and we don't check their phones, but we encourage the parents to do it back home. So in case they're getting into some kind of trouble,
Okay.
we had one of our students who got into trouble with Facebook,
Okay.
and someone who posed as a girl, and it could have probably been anybody else. But then we actually helped him get out of it by understanding that this person who's there is not actually a girl, it's actually a man who's posing as that. Because then they give out all the information that they shouldn't be giving out.
Correct.
So that's when we need the parents' help. We're constantly working.
Okay.
If we ask the parents to give a list of grocery that they require, we take the kids out grocery shopping and pick up things we make them pick it up for their home. We
Okay.
teach them cooking here.
Okay.
So it's all a part of our modules that we're working on.
Interesting. Also, kids are not scared of fire. When you say cooking, what
So
kind of cooking?
there are kids who are scared of fire. There are kids who are not. So in our kitchen here, we've got a hot plate, we've got an Instapot, and we've got the stove.
So, what are some significant challenges that you're facing in running the school, and how do you overcome them?
Um, so when you say running the school, I would say not much.
Okay.
But when I'm looking at running it the way that we would want to, keeping the kids in mind, we do face challenges. Like, it's probably the mindset that we need to work on, but we have parents who've probably got 2 or 3 kids back at home,
Okay.
and they don't want to invest in these kids because they see no returns.
Okay.
I don't like using these words, but it is a fact we're looking at. You will spend a lot on a neurotypical child, probably, and whether it's for their education, or tomorrow he wants a new phone, or he wants a bike, or he wants to go on a vacation with his friends. You are doing all that for a neurotypical child. But to send that child to a space like ours, probably, you are thinking twice, because you know that what is he going to be learning here? Or even if he picks up a job, it's not going to pay us back in return tomorrow.
Like, this
So
is a parent.
we do get parents like that.
Okay.
Not being judgmental, but they won't want to put that money into a particular child, probably the one who's facing difficulties. So we understand where they're coming from, and we are trying to educate them there that it's not just, you're not just doing it to get something back tomorrow in life for your own
Correct.
child, but you're making this child independent so that this child is not going to depend on a sibling tomorrow.
Definitely.
To be
And I'm sure if the parent is not sure about that child, siblings would also not give in that effort and that time and that love towards that child.
Absolutely.
So it definitely needs to be educated at home first.
Yes.
It's very sad to hear such stories,
Yeah, but they are there. We do see it.
Okay.
And one more thing is the distance. We see a lot of challenges with the distance. We have a lot of parents approaching us, but these kids are not able to navigate, or probably take a metro and come here, or they might get fooled if they come in an auto, things like that. Because we are working, those are the
Correct.
challenges we are working on. They're not able to navigate on Google Maps, so we are teaching them all of that. But for them to come here, we are somewhere in the center
Center.
of the city,
Hmm.
but we have so much of the city around us. We are not able
Okay.
to reach out to more people. So that's a challenge I feel we are facing.
Do you plan to open centers in the city?
So I'd love to. My only challenge is that this is not really a business venture we are looking at. And if I'm looking at opening around Hyderabad, I cannot be present everywhere. So the only what I'm looking at is for a parent to be coming forward to do this. So a parent with a child with diverse needs, because somewhere I feel if that empathy is there with the parent, it is going to make a difference in the center that's opened. I'm not saying that you don't make the money there. You need to charge for whatever facilities you give, the teachers that you hire, the rental space which is there, the maintenance, electricity, everything. But at the same time, if your heart is in the right place, then I think you can do a lot more.
I want to understand, this school is for students who can afford, or you have any exceptions too?
So for us to run this space, it is a space for children who can afford mostly.
Okay.
But we are capping each center that we want to open at 20 or 25 max.
Okay.
Our ratio is 1:5 with every teacher and student ratio, and we group similar kind of kids together. But we are open to taking on children who have diverse needs who are not able to afford to. Like we were approached by, the person who delivers milk, that his nephew has autism and whether we would want to. And I said, definitely we can. But if we have 20 or 25 kids, I think for it to work logistically, I would definitely like to take on 2 or 3 kids who can't afford it. But I will make them pay probably a 200 or a 500 so they feel the seriousness of this space.
Exactly, that is most needed. Otherwise, it would just be like a play zone area. Jab man kiya, bhej de, or when they don't want to, they wouldn't. Yes, it adds a lot to it. Yes. Would you want to share some success stories about your students, the achievements that they have gained through the school?
So for me, I would say, like I've told you earlier, success is not just what the child is able to do. I'll come to that too. But for me, success is a child who never communicated, who's able to communicate today. That is success. A child who wouldn't want to go out of the house or out of his room, he's coming smiling into this space. It is success. Uh, Children who don't know boundaries, who have learned boundaries which are good for them, is success. Children who are not able to manage their money, who get probably fooled in society. If they've gone to buy something, they don't get back the correct change. If they are able to take money out of an ATM account, which one of our students did recently, that is success.
Okay.
And then we also have success in the form of one of our students who's an amazing painter, self-taught. His father is a very well-known painter. But when the mother came and told us that, he's now painting, you're able to see so much more detailing in his painting. You're able to see happier colors. You're able to see more texture. And if I'm to express and ask him, like, tell me what it is, and he would say, this is me, and he always draws two vases. And he said that this is me, this is when I was depressed, or this is when I was very anxious and upset and angry, and this is after I've come into Flipside, and that's how I feel. So we feel a marked change, and for us these are stories of success. We do have success stories of our students finding different jobs and being able to do what they can do over there. That is the success probably that is marked in society. But for us, even these small joys are success for us.
Definitely. So, do you also teach them how to go for an interview, appear in an interview, what kind of questions are to be they ask in an interview? So, do you also train on all these things?
Yes, we do. So we have something called a job readiness program,
Okay.
which is a part of our, it's either a 12-month or 24. The reason we say 12 to 24 is some of them learn earlier than the others. So the ones who take longer probably take a little longer to learn. But in that span of either a year or 2 years, we do teach them job readiness skills which are required, which is not just interviewing and being able to answer at an interview, Jyoti. There is so much more, whether they're able to sit and have a lunch with a co-worker, which they won't want to
Correct.
do. Whether they can have a conversation, whether they can greet them. You know, there is a whole lot that goes into working, or express themselves if they are unable to do a certain task, or if they've completed a job, or they're finding something difficult in a workspace. That's why I said self advocacy is also very important, which we're working on over here.
It is, definitely. How do you put them across when they are at the school? Like, what is the ratio of kids against teachers?
So we have some where we work 1:3. That is one teacher to three students, but we do not exceed 1:5. It depends on their learning needs and how much they're able to learn. So, like I said, it's a spectrum, it's a wide thing we are working on. So, we try and group the kids together and we keep moving them in and out of different groups. So, they know each other, they're working with each other.
What would you guide and recommend to parents of individuals with diverse needs?
The first thing I would say is that both the parents accept that their child has diverse needs. We usually see one parent accepting and the other one struggling. So when that happens, it is I won't say a burden, but it's that extra effort that comes in from the parent who has accepted. And I would say having a very conducive environment at home makes a lot of difference. Not comparing them to the other kids who are there with you. Eventually, when we look at these kids, they are in the purest form that we can see of either emotion or whatever it is, a human form. They are actually the purest form because there is no malice, and they don't understand taunts, they don't understand sarcasm. It's a very neat, simple life that they would want to lead. So, what is it when you say that you can see, God in a person? It's these kids you actually see God in a person. And what
Correct.
is God? It's the purest form of energy.
Yes.
We see that every religion talks about God, any religion. So, without taking any religion name here, I'm just going to say, what are you looking at? You're praying to an energy or a God, right? But you definitely have that energy or God at home with you because that is at its purest form. Don't go out of the way to change that. Just try and see that you accept it and you live with those beautiful souls at home. So I would say acceptance by both the parents is most important. And like I said earlier, the behavior management, etc., starts at home. Behavior is what the parents need to work on intensely at home. So if they're able to do that, I think half the battle is won.
At your school, parents reach to you, but is there a way that you know of about such kids and you want to reach out to them? Or have you ever tried convincing them that this is something that your child needs? Why don't you do this for them? Has there been a situation like this?
So I do see them around me constantly, but then, like I said, we don't know how much a parent has accepted, right?
Correct.
I do know of friends who have kids, but they've kept them just at home. For years, that kid has been at home. I saw them recently in a restaurant outside, and they are still in that same comfort zone of those few friends or, just the parents there. I would say let them come out because we take our kids to cafes, we take our kids to celebrate special occasions in restaurants, we go for movies, we go to the park. In fact, we are planning a heritage walk sometime next week with our kids in the some place that we
That
have
would be
thought of.
interesting.
Yeah, so I would say apart from sensitizing the society, I would say take them out with you. Why do you keep them at home? Why do you have to feel they're not accepted?
Are there still parents and families who try to hide the intellectual disability about the child?
Yes, unfortunately, we do see a lot of them. They don't like to speak about it, and I don't like to point out because everyone's fighting their own battles, right? Everyone is struggling. When you have a child like this, it is a struggle. But then I would say, come out, take them out. Till you take them out, how is society going to know what to do?
And this is something which is not shameful at all. If they think on similar lines, I
Absolutely
think
not.
they should do something
It's
about
just
it.
they just have a few diverse needs. Maybe they don't learn the way you do, but they do learn eventually.
Even we take like time to learn few things. It's not easy. For example, with my case, swimming, I've been learning it for last 3-4 months and I've still not learned it. So this is just an example. They might be very quick at learning this. So it's not that even we learn things quickly and easily.
Absolutely. So something as small as OCDs.
Yes.
I'm sure that most of us have OCDs, right? You want to
Yes.
put things back in its place. I feel a lot of women, probably there are men too.
Yes.
But when it comes to OCDs, I know that when it goes to another extreme, we do require the help, of therapists and doctors for that. But just because they have specific something, it doesn't mean that they have, that's
Correct.
a challenge.
Yes.
It can be worked around. We all
can.
also have a lot of challenges.
We do,
But we are
definitely.
accepted because we are able to present ourselves a certain way in society.
Yes,
These
because
kids can't.
I'm one of them with specific detailings. I could say a little bit of OCD when I want few things to be put in a place. It has to be put in a place. Hygiene is not OCD, but it's a basic thing that everybody should have. So
Right.
I think also labeling is a bigger thing, that they look at smaller things and start labeling it.
I would say if it's in the extreme, yes, we do have the people who can help them out. You have psychiatrists, you have people who work with them. You reach out to them. But
True.
yeah, branding them, labeling them, no.
Yes, I completely get that, and I understand what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So when we take them for movies and all that, we have people staring at us, we have people looking at us, but then we are fine. So when we go to a movie theater, we make them buy their tickets. So they take out their phones, they calculate, they take a little time. So even if there are people standing behind, we tell them it's going to take us 15 minutes, you can join the other line. Or if you go to buy popcorn in the interval, we all stand in one line. Even if it takes 20 minutes and we've missed a part of the movie, we do it. But we let them learn, because if not, how are they going to learn?
Definitely. It's very well said. And if everybody starts doing this, this place would be wonderful. Acceptance is something that everybody should start doing.
Life is actually simple. We are
It
the
is.
ones who complicate it, I feel.
Very.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Today's episode was truly enlightening and a lot of learning for me and also for a lot of parents and caregivers. I'm happy to have you and talk about whatever best you could share.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jyoti.
I believe instead of focusing on limitations, we should recognize the potential of what a child possesses. I would encourage more parents to reach out and connect to such supportive schools which are specially dedicated for individual diverse needs. Don't be a miser, have a big heart. Do like, share, subscribe, and give a big thumbs up to our episode and our channel, All That She Wants.